welcome to my channel. My name is Lizzie. I hope you're doing good, feeling well, and ready for our very last anger management series, Soulful Sessions with Spirit, on Sundays that we do. This one is how to forgive yourself. I'm so excited that we made it through our first official series, and I'm very interested, if you've watched them all or just one, what you thought about these therapy sessions so far, what you hope for in the future for future therapy sessions, what you wish I would take out, helpful and relevant things. Don't just be mean to be mean, because, you know, life's already hard enough. But anyway, next Sunday, we're starting our next series, which is our relationship therapy sessions. This is all about different kinds of relationships. We're going to cover relationships with teenagers and their parents, adults and their older parents, like now they have kids and are parents themselves, and your relationships with your parents. Like, we're breaking down relationships, and the first one for that is going to be for married people. I figured we'd get that right out of the way, because, you know, that's the biggest thing people need therapy for. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm going to be talking to long-term commitment. You don't have to be married. People who live together, basically. We're going to get into any kind of thing that Spirit feels like we need to talk about, like fighting, money, careers, raising the kids, anything that can cause conflict and trauma or a reason to go to therapy. We're going to do a session about that next Sunday. Soulful Sessions with Spirit is what I call them. So look for that if you're interested, if you're married or in a long term and want some counseling there. We start a whole new month next week, even though it's a new month this week. Again, this is the last of our anger management. This is how to forgive yourself. I didn't label them all anger management series. I think I did the first one. They're mostly labeled Soulful Sessions with Spirit. So if you're interested in any of the previous ones, we did how to forgive your ex-spouse and lover, how to forgive your attacker and bully, and then we did how to forgive your parents or people like aunts, uncles, siblings in your life. And today, again, how to forgive yourself. So those are all up there if you're interested, and I am going to continue this. Each series is 4 weeks. I only do one per week on Sundays. So we have the second series, and then we have 3 more after that. So we're going to be covering different things each time. Like, even though I'm doing relationship therapy, every week will be a different topic, so it's not boring. You know what I mean? It's not the same shit over and over and over. Anyway, let's get into it. So this is how to forgive yourself. Hold on, I gotta get Looney. She's stuck. The cat was not stuck. She just couldn't find her mom. She's like, Mom? 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 My cat had kittens a year ago, and I kept one. She's getting her voice now, I think. She's been freaking me out, because for a whole year she's been silent. Like, 1 or 2 mews here and there, but now all of a sudden she's like, meow, meow. I'm like, what? What's happening? It's so cute, though. It's like a baby just trying to talk for the first time, because you can tell it's not worked, because she's like, it's not worked yet. Alright, let's get into it. Where should we start when talking about forgiving ourselves? Let's get some talking points. Collaboration of souls. Okay, so forgiving for investments and working with people that we shouldn't, or being in relationships with people that we shouldn't, is going to be a talking point here. Make a mission statement for your soul. Forgiving ourselves for maybe following the wrong things, trends, people, leaders, ideas. Loonies, what's the matter? the good kind. A little bit more clarification on what's this good kind. Maybe for passing up the good stuff. Unstick the stuck. Forgiving ourselves for staying in things for too long, or passing up things that were good for us. Anything else we're going to be discussing? Oh my God. My throat just gurgled like 4 times. I tell you, the more spiritual I get, the more weird things happen in my reading. Like my face, my hands, gurglies, I don't know. Prosperity's sisters are happiness and joy. Forgive ourselves for not choosing our happiness and what we want. Maybe falling victim to, well, you got to go to college because that's what people do. Or, you got to get married because this person's pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, for following what we think is expected for us. So now that we got our talking points, let's start. Where should I start with my decks? Spirit. I pick the topic in the decks and Spirit directs the rest. We are collaborating. That's why it's Soulful Sessions with Spirit. Collaboration of souls. Let's talk about. Alright, so what causes us to harsh our own mellows when it comes to collaborating? So let's start at the very beginning. In high school, for me, a big point of contention was when we were assigned group projects. I was always the person that would do all the work because I cared more about my grade than everybody else. So I sacrificed unfairness to get the grade, and then everybody else got the same grade as me, and that never seemed to sit right with me. But I feel like that's where it starts for a lot of us, where we learn that we have to, if we want a certain outcome, we have to do things that are unfair, and then we get mad about the situations. But the point is, we don't have to do things. We can choose to just do our work and walk up to the teacher and say, I did this all by myself and nobody helped me, so I don't feel like any of those people should get a grade. We could have done that, but we didn't want to look uncool. So we sacrificed something in ourselves that we felt we shouldn't, and that's where that point of anger, that point of contention in our lives begin. I'm just using that as a point of reference. It doesn't have to be what you're literally mad about, but a lot of these types of things happen in our life all the time. Like when you go for a promotion, you got to do certain things that you might feel is ass kissing, or you might feel degrades you in some way, and the truth is you don't have to do that. You can be yourself and not kiss ass, and you are going to take longer to get to your projected goal, but that is a choice. You can choose to do things the way that your body and your soul tells you to, and we get mad at ourselves when we go against that, because that's your body's way of saying you're not being authentic, and that causes contention and a need to have to forgive yourself later. So instead of looking at the situation of, oh, I took the easy way, or I did things just because of an outcome and I kind of feel like shitty for not being the one person that stood their ground, focus on what you got out of it, because that will also help you help you see the lesson behind it. There are going to be parts of your life where you stand firm on that line and you say, no, I'm not going to concede and do things just for the easy way. And there's going to be parts of your life where you decide to pick your battles and you say, you know what, this is the one point in time where I'm going to choose to do something a little bit easier to give myself a leg up. And instead of harping yourself and feeling like that's an unauthentic point of yourself, realize that everybody in life needs a leg up. You all have a line to get to, a destination to get to, and if that thing that you gave yourself a leg up on, if that got you where you needed to go and it wasn't self-sacrificing to a great detriment, like you didn't do a sexual favor for something which would cause a serious trauma and need more healing, if it's not something like that, just let it go. Like, you gave yourself a leg up. Like, okay, one time in your life you took an easy way out. What did you learn from it? You learned that you don't really feel good about the outcome or about what you're doing when you take the easy way out. So down the road, the next time this scenario comes, you're going to be like, well, I can get the satisfaction of doing something faster, but remember how I felt. I felt like I didn't earn it. I felt like shit. So this time, maybe I'm going to do things a little bit different. I feel like everything in your life clicks into place exactly when it needs to. When those moments of giving yourself a leg up happen, either Spirit put that leg up there for you to get there faster, or they put that leg up as a test, and you either pass or fail that test. And you're going to pass test and you're going to fail test, no matter how spiritually inclined or healthy of a mind you have. Like, as human beings, we are all going to choose wrong, and we are all going to choose right. That's just facts. We don't need to forgive ourselves for the times that we choose right. This is about choosing all those times that we chose wrong, and instead of harping on it year after year, day after day, I should have done things differently, I should have done more, I should have, been more of a rebel, I should have stuck up for myself and told that person to F off, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, doesn't change a single outcome no matter the situation. But this is the one thing that keeps us from forgiving ourselves, is that I should have known better. I should have done this. If I did better, I would be here. If I did it this way, I would feel better. Okay, well, you can't change it. So how do you feel better right now? By forgiving yourself for that choice and realizing the lesson. You would rather put work into it and do it the harder way. You know that now. Okay, great. Good for you. You learned something. Move on. Let it go. The fact that we as humans feel the need to continuously harp this is where a lot of us get into the pickle of, like, berating ourselves, talking bad, making ourselves believe we don't deserve things. Just because you got there a little bit faster doesn't mean you didn't earn it or that it wasn't meant for you, okay? Everybody gets a leg up exactly when they're meant to. Just some leg ups are bigger than others. Expansiveness, yes. Realize that everything has to move on. Everything has a launching point. And maybe that decision you made launched you into a bad situation, but that was just another lesson for you. With this blue butterfly, it's like, to me, blue butterflies in general talk about transformation and change, but blue butterflies to me represent an inner change, an emotional change, like coming out of the dark night of the soul and into a lighter, vibrant being, or a more lighter collaboration in this sense. You got two blues here. And this collaboration talks about when you're working with others. So it's either you are mad at yourself because you did something to someone else's standards, or you followed, like, how can I use this as an example? Not everybody's an artist, but I feel like you can understand. And I'm an artist, so it's just easier for me to do. But, like, say you're a painter, and I'm not a painter, that kind of artist, I'm just saying. But say you paint a picture, and you're in this class, and your assignment is to look at a bowl of fruit and paint what you see. Although you're all painting the same thing, everybody's perspective of that bowl of fruit is going to look differently. And maybe one day, instead of looking at the bowl of fruit, your nemesis was sitting next to you, and they all always seem to get better grades than you. So instead of looking at the bowl of fruit, you're looking at their painting, and you're trying to paint and mimic their painting because you know they're going to get a good grade. And then you get that good grade, and you look at your painting and you look at their painting, and you realize that your painting is just a crappy knockoff of theirs. And then you feel like shit about yourself because your nemesis beat you again in your own mind. You're doing it to yourself. Like those moments of when you're just trying to get the grade, or you want the success. You want to be at the point where that person is at, but you don't see all the work that they put into it. You just see the end result. So you make these decisions in your life because you think you're going to get there, and that's something we all have to learn. You can't jump the line. It doesn't always work out well, and sometimes it does. And maybe you were meant to jump the line, but still, just because you jumped the line at that point doesn't mean you don't have a hardship down the road. You know what I mean? There's an ebb and flow to everything. Just trust that you've taken what you needed to take from it. If you're going to work with someone again, maybe you decided to get in a relationship with someone that wasn't good, and you base that relationship all on the wrong things. Like, oh, this person has money, or oh, this person can help me with my career, oh, this person has a nice house, whatever, you know. It was for things or stuff and not for love, and because you wanted to be with them. And that made you feel like a shitty, shady person, and realizing that you're choosing things over love. And that was a lesson you needed to learn. Like, everything happens in our lives for a reason, and we are not always high vibrational, good thought, going in the right direction people. Majority of the time, we're fuck ups, doing the wrong thing, making an accidental mistake, putting our foot in our mouths, crying about spilled milk, you know. We harsh so much on the hard stuff, and we don't focus on the good stuff. So it just seems like all this horrible decisions, all this bad stuff is like the meat of our lives, and it isn't. Everybody comes into your life exactly when they're meant to. You're supposed to have bad friends, so you learn what good friends are. You're supposed to have bad lovers, so you know what good lovers are. You're supposed to have bad relationships, so you know what good relationships are. You're supposed to have really shitty bullshit jobs, so you learn what you like and what you want to do. Like, there's always a shitty before a good. Always a shitty before a good. Forgive yourself for those shitty. You need those shitties for the good, is my point. Whether it's picking the wrong person, picking the wrong job, picking the wrong major or career, picking the wrong place to live. You picked wrong. You learned a lesson. This is not it. Hashtag not it. That's a majority of the lesson you learn in your life. You will learn it's not it more than it's it for me. That's truth. I gotta go check my laundry. Pause for a second. Not that you guys notice. Sorry about that. I just sneezed like 18 times because I had to pull the dryer lint out. You know, clean the lint trap. And I'm allergic to dust. I was like, achoo, achoo, achoo. That's why I do my laundry late at night. So I have the room to myself. Make a mission statement for your soul. So we talked about forgiving yourself when you kind of like take the easy way out, or you choose the wrong partnership, or you choose the wrong business partner. Like, these are all things that are meant to teach you, like, what kind of business partner you want, what kind of love partner you want, what kind of friend you want, what kind of job you want. You have to taste, like, basically, think of life as a giant taste testing, okay? In order to know if you like the dish, you gotta put it in your mouth and chew on it for a minute. You either like the flavor or you don't. You either spit it out and move on, or you say, this is good, and you eat the plate. You gotta experience things like you experience your food. You gotta put it in your mouth, you gotta chew on it, and you gotta decide if you like it or if you don't. So forgive yourself for the wrong choices, because it's just creating your menu that is right for you. Sorry about my kitty. My studio is technically in the cat space. Make a mission statement for your soul was like, these are the things and the times that either you voiced yourself, you stood up for things, and then maybe you found out the truth about an organization and you were like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed that I was ever a part of that. Or maybe you stood up for someone who didn't deserve it. Or it's the other side of things where you wish you stood up and you didn't. You wish you made a mission statement to a bully and was like, don't treat me this way. But you never stood up for yourself. Or this is you maybe passing up a job because you didn't think that you were worthy of it when you should have had more confidence. This is forgiving yourself in those moments. So how do we do that, Spirit? Oh my goodness. Apparently it's going to be a lot of work because there's a lot of work to get that card. Delusions. The delusions we tell ourselves. That's what I just heard. So again, with the whole principle of you have to put things in your mouth and chew on it. The same aspect of, like, I have asked things in my life that I was offered that I still to this day was like, if I took that, I wonder what my life would be like now. But at the same time, like, I didn't really want that thing. I kind of knew it wasn't right for me. You know, I had that gut instinct, and that's why nothing ever seemed to line up in the right place to get me down that road, or it just didn't click into place for you because it wasn't meant to. It wasn't your thing. Either you were deluding yourself, and like maybe, for example, like let's go. I'm using high school a lot. I just hung out with a high schooler, my niece, so it's relevant on my brains. She's very much in the age of she's a junior this year, so she's going to be getting ready for college next year. She's like, what am I going to do for a career? So let's use that. The delusion of I'm going to choose a career because I want to make really good money. So I'm going to go and be a doctor. But then they don't realize that doctors take 6 to 8 years of college, cost mad money. It's one of the hardest academic programs you're going to face. The competition is so fierce. Like, we don't see the realism of things. We just see the glamour of it. Like, doctors live in nice houses and have mad money, and they have jobs, and they get a lot of vacation. But they have literal lives in their hands. And they have to know a lot of stuff. And they have to be calm when most of the world is not. So that it's not a rosy, happy-go-lucky job. You have people dying literally at your hands. And you're going to have to get up and go in the next room and save someone else's life and possibly lose them too. And then have to keep going and have that emotional capacity. And maybe you don't. Maybe you're not that kind of person. And that was Spirit saying, look, I'm just going to save you from being a doctor because the doctor is not it for you. You're going to just get hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So instead, I'm going to detour you and go left. It's not always necessarily you and your mind derailing you. Sometimes it is Spirit. So in those moments when you're harshing your own mellow, be honest and be realistic. Was that job right for you? Was that lifestyle right for you? Would you and that person have jived? You know, it might have been nice in thought and mind, but when you put it into the 3D, would it have worked? Take the delusion out of it. Take the thing that you wanted and fantasized about and set it down for a minute. Take the rose-colored glasses off and see the truth. Because if it's meant for you, it's going to stick in your life, and you're going to make it and you're going to get there because that's what's meant for you. All the things, all the people, all the places not meant for us, they can stay for like 10, 20 years and then just dip off in one day. If that's how Spirit feels like doing it, that's how they'll do it. If it's meant, it will stay. If it's not, it falls away. I need a t-shirt. That's my slogan. For real. Like, don't beat yourself up for the delusions you had. You got swept up in a fantasy of wanting something, of wanting someone, and it wasn't real for your life. It wasn't realistic for who you are or the direction you were going in. But we all need those delusions. We all need those, I wonder if. Because, you know, what else are we going to do on a long car ride or an airplane ride or an elevator I hate awkward silence so much that I fill my own thoughts up because I can't stand it. You know, it's just a part of life. Our brains don't shut off. We just ponder. But instead of harshing our own mellows, see the delusion and laugh at yourself. Like classic one, way back. Since we're in high school days, let's go back even further. I loved Jared Leto. Totally my so-called life every week. Like, I don't look at people like that now, but I feel like all little girls go a little bit schizo when they're figuring out their sexuality and like what love is, and like we just go on this trip, this whole mind trip of like our wedding day, and we're gonna fall in love, and this is what kisses is, and this is what sex is, and it's like totally fucking delusional. Like completely, because of Disney and all the movies we watch. And a man loves us if he opens the door for us and puts a glass slipper on our foot. You know, it's like we don't know what the fuck we're talking about, so we delude ourselves. This is what I'm talking about. You don't know the truth yet. You don't know what you like. You don't know who you like. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you want to do. So your job is just to go out and experience life. And sometimes you get stuck in these delusions. And sometimes you get stuck in them for a minute, as in you marry someone and you think that they're your person. And then you wake up one day and you're like, what the fuck are we even doing? You don't like me. I don't like you. We are not compatible at all. Like, we just like having sex and that's it. Boom, delusion dropped. You get a divorce, but it's amicable. Like, it doesn't always have to be a bad delusion, but I'm just saying we can fool our own selves into being like, this is my thing. This is my person. This is my and Spirit's like, I beg to differ. New hashtag wrong story, not a true story. Let me show you what the true story is. And exit stage left. You know, forgive yourself. So you got caught up. All right. We all do. How many of you have got caught up in a relationship and you thought it was fucking perfect when you first got in it? Like, oh my God, I'm going to marry this person. I'm so fucking in love. 3 months later, I can't. What? Why? Let me keep doing this a couple times. Like, we all do it. Nobody's immune to delusions. Even celebrities have delusions and their lives are pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a grass is greener on the other side, longing for what you don't have, so you get tripped up and you're like, I'm going to go on this get-rich scheme. Ponzi schemes. All that shit comes from delusions. I'm going to get rich fast. This is my shortcut. This is my moment. And then we're all like, oh, why do we do that? Because we all want the glory, okay? There's nothing wrong with wanting glory. We all want it. We all want to seize the day. We all deserve our success, our mansions, our buku, making it rain moments. You know, we all deserve it. We do. And we all fantasize about it. Even when you have it, you still fantasize about having more. So are we ever satisfied as human beings? I don't fucking think so. True story. Well, like, we get to the point of contentment. Like, yes, you can be satisfied with a lover and make a relationship work. And yes, sometimes these delusions work out for people. It starts off as like a crazy idea that nobody thinks can take off, but it does. That's not a delusion. That is a miracle. I'm talking about the delusions that, like, you thought it was going to be great, and oh boy, was it not. And then you harsh your mellow. Maybe you put money in, invested years and time in this, and you just feel like an asshat. I mean, I have a lot of moments where I'm like, you are such an idiot. Like, what the? Do you even have a brain? Are you sure it's in there? Are you sure it's working? I think it misfired. What the fuck? Like, I have more than most. I'm not a perfect person, and I will not pretend to be. So don't ever feel like you're the only one that, like, always seems to choose the wrong people or choose the wrong jobs or be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, these are all lessons. And it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And sometimes it's just the karma we earned, because we need to expand and become better people, better versions of ourselves. Just trust that everything that's meant for you will come, and everything that isn't, it's got to fall away. And that includes people, jobs, educations, things that you at one time deemed important will one day maybe not be important. Don't get attached to stuff, including thoughts and choices and things from before. You don't need it anymore. The good kind. Prosperity sisters are happiness and joy, and unstick the stuck. This is about forgiving yourself for staying in things too long. Even when, like, this is when you stayed in something because you were just either too lazy, you didn't want to get out of it, you didn't want to deal with it, you just kept hitting that denial button, or you were scared. Or just scared to leave your comfort zone. And then this is forgiving yourself when, it says prosperity sisters are happiness and joy. So instead of doing what you love and choosing your own happiness, you did what someone else's wanted for their happiness, not your own. And then the good kind is forgiving yourself for, passing up good things in your life for things that were shitty, whether that be jobs or relationships, religions, whatever. Let's get into that. Let's see. Let's break it down a little. Let's talk about forgiving ourselves for staying in things too long, either out of fear of leaving your comfort zone, fear of getting out of the situation, or just because you just didn't want to deal with it. Procrastination is depression's best friend. I procrastinated all weekend. I didn't get shit done. Hence why I'm late. I was grieving all weekend. Can't do shit. It's honesty. Forgive yourself for it. You can't do two things at once sometimes. It's alright. Yeah, unstick the stuck. Judgment always comes, like, stuck in toxic situations. Whether this be karmic relationships, hostile situations, living, like, where I live is a very hostile situation. This is about shadow sides, being bored, like being with someone who matches, like if you're low vibrational in your life at a moment and you're like a drinker, a partier, you're going to be with somebody who's a drinker, a partier, who's also low vibrational. This is about two people in a shadow state, either friends, lovers, co-workers, what have you. These moments of, I spent too long as an addict with this person, or I spent too long being a vain sex addict, party animal with this person. I didn't like my version of myself when I was doing this or with this person. This is, I kind of feel the need, like, to express a few different relationships, so we'll see where it's going with spirit. Like, this is like two addicts that are friends who spend, like, maybe their whole lives or grew up together, years together using, and then, like, one person decides to get sober, so they're unsticking themselves from the stuck, but the other one is still using, so they have to cut that friend out of their life for good, because there's no way that this one can be sober if this one's still using and you two hang out. So it's like you always hold a little bit of guilt for leaving them behind, because if you're getting sober and you're cleaning up and you're realizing what the disease is, and you're not putting energy into this person like you would to other people in your group, like your other AA meetings. If someone reaches out to you and is like, I'm thinking of using, that's a completely different situation than going to hang out with somebody who's still choosing all the habits you're walking away from, who isn't calling you about thinking of using, so you got to go in the bar and sit down with them, who's just looking at the drink but didn't take the drink. It's okay for an addict to come in and talk that person down, whereas to go in to deal with a drunk person who just smells like alcohol. That is a severe trigger, and to know that as somebody that you used with, you just don't want to put yourself in that situation, so you stop accepting their calls, you stop hanging out with them, you kind of ghost them. But it's for the betterment of yourself. It's because they're not choosing to get off the ride that you chose to get off, and you had to do it for yourself. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you cared about this person. And it could be the other way around. Maybe someone, one of your friends got clean and you got clean later. But for a while, maybe you caused this person to relapse and that they never got clean again. Like, there's some kind of element of addiction here that I feel like I should be addressing. But it's okay to feel that guilt, because that just makes you more of a good friend. It's hard to choose your own sobriety. It's hard to choose what's right for you when you care about someone. And just because you're an addict and you use together doesn't mean that you didn't have cool conversations or that you didn't do other things together, especially if you had a life with someone. Hi, Gaia. We haven't seen you in a bit, my dears. Where are you going? There's no way to go that way. You have to go back that way. Come down on my leg if you want. Come down on my leg. Hi. Are you going to tell us something? Or just show your butthole to everybody? Sorry, I love her. But you don't need to hold on to that guilt, because you did exactly what you needed to do for your sobriety. If cutting that person out of your life kept you sober, you 100% made the right choice, Spirit is saying. And if they're meant to be in your life, remember what I said, they would stay. They would have got sober too. And perhaps that person will get sober down the road and come back into your life, but right now they can't. And if you did cause them to relapse, it's not you causing them to relapse. Like, they might have said that to you, but that's just another addict's excuse. Everybody has that choice to make. And a million triggers could be going on, but it is 100% the person's choice to use. Nobody can force you to use unless they're literally forcing you, with a gun or like holding you down. Like, okay, that it's out of your control. But the rest is just an excuse. You know what I mean? You don't need to hold on to other people's shit when you have enough of your own shit that you're holding on to and dealing with and transmuting when it comes to addiction. But let's talk about relationships. This is about being with people that mirror. You're like low vibrational. Maybe you're afraid of commitment. So your relationships are really only like fuck buddies, pretty much. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not judging you. But this is you maybe realizing one day that maybe you're starting to see your friends settle down and you're like, I want that too. Like, I want to ride or die. I want someone to come home to. I'm sick of this petty bullshit. Like, so you start stepping away from the people that you would just have sex with because you want a more meaningful connection. Then they get butthurt and then you lose a friendship over it because they don't understand that you're moving in a new direction and they're not ready for commitment, so they can't understand where you're coming from. You're coming out of the shadow and they're staying in the shadow. You're unsticking yourself. Again, that's a choice you needed to make for yourself to get away from someone who wasn't ready for commitment because you are. Or maybe you decided, maybe someone fell in love with you and you just weren't ready for commitment and you were honest with them and you said, look, I love sleeping with you, but I'm not in love with you. And maybe you lost a friend and that, holds guilt with you, but you unstuck this person. You would have dragged them along and hurt them if they were in love with you. And even if you cut out the sex and you were just friends, it would have been a pain. You forced them to face their own shadow and you weren't serving their best interests. So in order to love them, you had to let them go. Forgive yourself for those moments. Let's talk about the things that you stayed in because you were bored. Like, those are those jobs. Like me, I'm in that situation right now. Like, I've changed jobs more in the last 2 years than I have in my whole life because I I lost something I really liked because of COVID. It's just not around anymore. So I'm finding it hard to find my place again, and I'm just going from job to job, and I'm bored with the work. I'm discontented, but here I am again, bored and discontented and not feeling like I'm being treated right. But instead of moving to a new job, I'm like, I just don't want to deal with it. Like, it's just, I'm going to go to the next job and it's going to be the same thing. Like, I'm talking myself out of that, but this is what we need to forgive ourselves for. You know, we get stuck in something, we get comfortable in something, but we're not fulfilled with it. And then it becomes daunting to leave it. Because maybe you've had a lot of change in your life. Like, that's exactly my reason. I've had so much change over the last 2 years that any more change makes me nervous, makes me feel all off kilter. So yes, I'm sitting a little bit in my boredom, but I'm aware of it. I'm working on it. It's different. But there's been points in my life where I sat in this boredom and wouldn't realize it, and I wasn't learning the lesson, as in staying in a relationship 15 years with someone I wasn't in love with, or choosing a class in college I knew I would hate just because I thought it would get me a better paying job one day, or like being in a really shitty friend group but not wanting to be alone even though you don't like what they're saying, or they're being kind of like judgy dicks or whatever, and you just stay in that group because you don't want to go off and make new friends anywhere else, but you're being like just staying in something because you just don't want to deal with it, or you just don't want to have to go through any more change. How do we forgive ourselves for staying in these moments too long? Self-control. Like me. Again, using myself as an example. I know I'm not ready for change when I'm feeling that anxious about change. I don't like my job, but I don't hate my job. So maybe Spirit's like, hang on a little bit longer. Maybe you're going to get promoted, and the next thing that you're going to do, you're really going to like. Maybe I just don't see that coming. So sometimes the boredom is Spirit saying, sit for a minute. Maybe they want you to learn more of a lesson or see a truth you're not seeing, as in something is coming that we want for you, and just trust us for a minute. But this is also talking about sometimes you need to gain that courage and that strength to leave things, and sitting in that moment of fear of I'm bored, I'm not contented, but I don't want to do it yet. That's a lesson. Why don't you want to do it yet? Because you have something that you need to learn and gain courage to overcome. You need to face your Goliath so that you can, feel like a warrior to do what you need to do. And that is why we sometimes stay in things a bit too longer. It isn't because we're lazy. It's because we need to work up our courage. We need to heal. We need to sit and lick our wounds like an animal in the wild. Let's talk about judgment. Unsticking yourself from past judgment. Like, maybe you went to jail and have a record, and like every time you go to get a job you seem to get judged for it. Or maybe you cheated on the person you're still in a relationship with and they just can't seem to let it go and they always harp it up. Or you just made a mistake and just people won't, like, they're always bring it up. It's like you can't outlive something, a mistake in your past, or something you're trying to prove that you're not anymore. But this is also talking about divorce and forgiving yourself. This is like fighting in front of your kids. This is like staying in an abusive relationship too long. We harsh ourselves for that. I did. I've been in several abusive relationships. Several. And every single time I blame myself. Felt stupid for staying and dealing with it. How do we forgive ourselves here, Spirit? There's a couple things. Let's talk about the abuse first. Like, how do we forgive ourselves for staying in something we know we should have left, whether it's mental, physical, verbal abuse, financial abuse, narcissistic abuse, any kind of abuse. Victory. We needed to learn how to take our power back. We needed to learn how to stand up for ourselves and to set a boundary. And it's a horrible way to learn. Horrible. This is not something Spirit ever wants to happen to you. Again, we cannot They can't affect free will. So if someone decides to scream at you or hit you, God can't stop that from happening. That's a person's right. But they can teach you to be a victorious, strong-willed, thick-ass spine, stiff upper lip, to eventually get to the point to look at that person who's hurting you and say, I'm leaving. You don't deserve me. You don't love me. And I'm not scared of you anymore. The moment that happens, when you walk away from an abusive situation, job, whatever, when you take control back of your life, it is the scariest fucking thing. It is the hardest thing. And it's the longest battle. This is not something that comes overnight. But that victory, that overcoming, the end of the tunnel creates a person that will never allow you to go back to be that person who didn't know what a boundary was, who didn't know their own worth. The reason why you were abused is because your own soul allowed it, because you didn't know better. Your heart was hurt. Your soul told you didn't deserve it, or this is what you deserved, or you were being punished, or you must have done something wrong. All of this was lies that you told to yourself, and delusions, and this jerk that hurt you. All of it is lies, and Spirit needed you to see the truth. And in order for you to see the truth, you have to learn it for yourself, that you are the strong one, that they can't take shit from you, because you don't give them anything you don't want to give. And you don't have to accept their words as truth. They can sit there and call you dumb, you're fat, you're lazy, you're useless, no one will love you, you're a waste of fucking space. That's their truth. They might as well go look in the mirror and say it to their fucking selves. Doesn't mean you have to let it stick to you and be your truth. This is all something you will learn when you overcome this abuse. You can only be a victorious, strong person when you stand back up, when you fight off that bully. We all have a bully in our life. Unfortunately, some are more severe than others. We all have to take our power back to become a strong go-getter in this life. You overcoming this abuse, this karmic relationship, you taking your power back, now you're going towards your future with a confidence you never had. And because of that confidence, it's going to release something that's going to benefit your future that wasn't there before, because you needed to learn a lesson. So forgive yourself for staying in something too long. It just made you the badass you are. And there's no reason to apologize for being a badass. Ever. Okay? Not on this channel. Anyway. You be a bad mama jamma all day. I'll be like, whoop whoop, go you. I am not dimming your light over to here. Let me. You want to turn your light on? Let me help you. That's me. Do it, boo boo. I'm the one in the background. You tell that son of a bitch. Yes. Take your power back. Boo-boos. You got this. All right. All right, let's talk about how do we forgive ourselves from choosing things like maybe our parents wanted for us, or choosing 3D-based shit instead of stuff that we really wanted, like choosing money or choosing what looked good on paper over what we really wanted. How do we forgive ourselves here, Spirit? Deceit. Yes. When we deceived ourselves. Boredom, creativity, victory, restriction. Okay, so this is like, how do we forgive ourselves for believing other people's bullshit? I'm getting deceit, lies, like thinking someone's a good partner when they're not, thinking something's someone is selling you something true and good and they're not. How do we forgive this? Invention. Okay. Makes so much sense. All right, so All right. I'm trying to think of an example. So we're talking about deceit here. So let me use a relationship in this one, for example. It doesn't have to be. It can be a work situation, but you'll understand what I'm saying by the example. So say man, woman, doesn't matter. You meet someone. They check all your boxes. You know, they're funny, they're sweet, they're independent, everything you want. So you go start a relationship. Things are going pretty quickly. Move in together, get married, and all of a sudden, you know, they go from being an active person to being a lazy person. You think they're like independent, you know, hard worker. They quit their job and make you pay for everything. It's like flip the script. Like you thought something was one way, you were deceived. And this is the anger of, I should have seen it. I should have known better. But this stuff happens. It shows you like, so this person comes in your life and you invent this life for yourself. This is what you want. Like, this is great. This person checks all my boxes. We're going to get married. We're going to buy a house. We're going to have babies. You know, whatever. You have this image of yourself. But that in itself is a deceit. Again, we're falling victim to illusion. We're focusing so much on what we want, we're ignoring red flags. But it's all part of a lesson, because, you know, when you first start with this person, your self-esteem's high, you're in love, things are good. You know, the relationship hasn't fallen apart. You're feeling on top of the world. You're feeling like this person came into your life and everything got better. You're creating the world you want. And then that shoe drops and you start suffering. And you're like, oh my God, I feel so stupid. Like, this person was doing this whole time and I didn't see it. I really thought they loved me. This must be my fault. You know, I must have done something. Like, you go through ebbs and flows, and then the anger comes. Like, how fucking dare they? I'm going to make them suffer back. You both get low vibrational. You go through this whole thing. But ultimately, at the end of it, your self-esteem takes a hit. You feel like you don't deserve that real invention. That thing you were inventing, you no longer believe is an actual real thing. You don't think you are worthy of it because you're suffering. Your self-esteem is hit. And you feel shame. But this suffering and shame causes two other things: leadership and truth. Eventually, at some point, you know, a lot of us stay in this more than we would like to, and this is where the anger comes from. What we just discussed, staying in things for too long. But the shame and realizing that you invented with the wrong person, but that you can still invent, happens. This isn't the life or the person I want. I'm sick of being in this energy. I want to invent a life that is real. I want the real image. I want the real person. I want the real thing. So I'm going to take leadership and getting out of whatever the fuck this was. Again, this happens in different phases for everyone. But all of this had to happen for you to realize that you've always held the paintbrush to your own life. And because they were deceiving you, you thought that your life had changed and that this is like their deceit altered your paintbrush and your painting, what you were painting on your canvas. And eventually you run out of room on that canvas to do their drawing, and you're going to have to get a new canvas. And so here you are on a new canvas and you're still starting to draw, and you're like, no, I'm done drawing what you want to draw. This is, you know, we painted on your canvas. This is my canvas now. This is when you start to take your power back and you take leadership and you start rebelling. Like, no, I'm not going to go here with you. No, I don't agree with that. No, I don't want this. No, you do it your way. I'm going to do it mine. And it's also a lot when that bickering comes, but you're standing up for yourself. You're speaking your truth. I deserve better. You lied to me. You're a fake. You're a phony. I don't, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is to get you out of the unstuck. You have to feel that break. It's almost like boot camp. Like your soul has to break and be reborn stronger. Or like a forest fire, when the trees are, sometimes they burn the trees on purpose so that they grow back stronger. It's that same principle. You have to go through pain, to go through the fire of torment, to come out sculpted and molded in a warrior and ready for battle. Like, you have to feel some serious shit in your life. And don't feel bad about that, because every bad choice you made, every tear you've cried, every wrong step you took made you into the person you are now, and is continuing to create you into a better version of yourself. We all have a path to walk, and that path is bumpy as fuck, and you're going to trip and you're going to blunder, and most of the time we're not making God proud. He still loves us. Okay? He still loves us. You gotta still love yourself even through the blunders. What else should we talk about? We went through all those talking points. Let's see if they got anything else that I haven't covered on how to forgive yourself. What else do we need to talk about? Kind of getting like a parenting vibe. How to forgive yourself for making bad choices as a parent. It kind of feels popping. We'll see if it comes out. Workaholic, yes. This is having that parental guilt of putting work first, or love. Like, I feel guilty for putting my relationship over my kids. I feel guilty for putting work over my kids. Or I feel guilty for not spending enough time with my spouse, or putting too much on my spouse because I work too much. This is what we're getting into. All right. So let's talk about the parental side. These are for the parents that maybe they feel they chose love, put love above their kids or work. Not because you wanted to. Maybe you had to. Like, maybe you just had a demanding spouse. Or maybe you're just trying to give your kid a better life, so you had to work, pay for things. How do we forgive ourselves? Prayer. Talk to God. Like, listen. Remember God and how He sent His own Son. If you believe in this, I'm just going to tell you it as a story. I don't mean to shove faiths down there. But in the book of the Bible, God sent His Son, Jesus, to earth. Away from Him. Down to the scary-ass place that was far more scary then than it is now. You think you're scared to send your kid to school? I would be scared to even live at all in that time that He sent His Son here. You don't think God understands how hard it is for a parent to manage giving their kid a better life and giving them love? You got to change your perception. You're working so that your kid can go to a good school or play sports, or you can put food on the table or have a home over their head. When they're older, they might not understand this as children, but when they're older, they're going to, especially if you're like a single parent, they're going to see why you had to be at work so much. And if you are, the main breadwinner of the family and one spouse stays home and the other one goes to work, your kids are going to see, like, you had a lot of mouths to feed. You have to see that perspective of it. This is what you have to do for your family. This is not your fault. This is the duties and the responsibilities of the world that they place that on our shoulders at birth. Taxes, rent, mortgage, groceries, fuel, textbooks, sports equipment, all that shit. Everything based around money was decided about by the people who rule us. We have no power to change that as it stands right now. You have to make that cheese. Everything in life right now costs too fucking much. It is a requirement for both parents to work at this point. And if one is only working, it's because you can't afford daycare. Let's be honest. We're all feeling isolated in our lives. the sense of duty that we have to fill every moment of our lives working, because that's how much it costs to live. We are not saving. We have no security. So the best thing that you can do for your child is to make sure you are making money. Because if you are making money, your kids are going to grow. If you are not making money, it's scary. This government ain't going to help you. This government is falling apart. We're recovering from some serious shit, but we haven't physically recovered. COVID did a lot of PTSD. I have PTSD from COVID. I'm scared to death of waking up every day and being like, well, the world's shutting down again just because, without any answers, and because they have decided to. Still to this day, there is not a good enough reason why everything had to shut down the way it did. It killed small business, and it boosted corporate business, and it boosted the sense of everybody now has to be a workaholic. Priorities have shifted in life. Back when I was growing up, even into the early 90s, the priority was to have a parent at home with the kid. There was a long time when people were against daycares. They were scared that this very thing would happen, and they were right. That we would stop caring about being a parent, and the government would force us to be workers. And that's exactly, we're just money makers. It's not your fault that you have to work as much as you do. You have to. And unfortunately, your kids are going to grow up and feel that same exact fucking weight. Good job or not, they will understand it. They're not going to understand it as kids. You don't have a choice. It is not your fault. Don't carry that burden. It is not your burden to carry. Did you set the taxes? Did you set the rent? Did you set the grocery and the gas price? This government enslaved you and took you away from your own children, and they do it every day. Flip the script. Because if everybody starts flipping the script in that way, maybe we'll do something about it. And then maybe you won't have to feel this way about being a workaholic, because we won't have to work as much. Let's talk about those who feel like they put love over their children. Again, with prayer. Expansion. Guilt. Okay, so some of you might have maybe lost, either not in death, or just the other parent either walked and just didn't help you, or they passed away. So it's like always that need of wanting your kid to have a mom or a dad, wanting to give them a well-rounded family, wanting to give them siblings. So you're always on the lookout for somebody to be a partner with. It's hard being a parent by yourself. It's hard being alone. Everybody wants love. And when you have kids, it's so hard to date. It's so hard to work around. Like, have faith. Give it to God and Spirit. Send me someone who likes kids and will understand that I gotta put my kids first. Who isn't gonna guilt me about being a good parent. And you know, I feel like your kids always give you shit when you're dating someone. Like, my mom had 5 kids, and I don't think any of us ever, like, really gave her any shit for dating because she worked hard. But, like, we're like, ooh, Mom has a new boyfriend. Is he moving in? Oh, my God. Like, we would rip on her. So, like, don't get upset. Like, don't feel, like, guilty for that, because most of the time your kids just like to rile you up. Don't fall victim to it. If they bring it up a lot, you might want to sit down and talk to them about it. But if they just rip on you from time to time, yeah, be gentle. It's like they're just lovingly fucking with you. Because maybe they sense your nervousness, or maybe they're just uncomfortable with change, so they're leaning on their sarcasm a little bit. You know your kid. You know when they're really upset about stuff, and when they're just being a twat. You know what I mean? Everybody's kid has those moments. when they're tired or hungry or whatever. What else do we need to know about forgiving ourselves? Clear cognizance and gifts from God. Our own thoughts, what we tell ourselves. Clairaudience. What we feel we deserve, what we say to ourselves. Gifts from God. What is this? Forgive yourself for maybe not going, like, maybe you have a really good voice, but you have, like, really bad stage fright, and you always feel guilty for, like, not using your talent, or everybody says you have talent for something, but you just don't love doing it. So either you feel guilt for using your gifts and rising above everybody, or you feel guilty for not using your gifts. How do we forgive this? Counselor. Okay, so for those of you, like, who have a real gift and always, like, as the years tick by, you just get more mad at yourself for not going after it. I think it's time to get some psychological help as one, why you can't let it go, but two, maybe not just psychological help. Maybe find someone who can give you a realistic plan or lessons on how to actually make that dream come into fruition. Because if you're continuously thinking about it, I think it's time to answer the call. But this is about counseling yourself. Like, if you are given a gift, say you are a singer and that's what you do, and maybe you're doing well and your family isn't, and you just feel guilty for that. Like, why? You're allowed your success. You're allowed to do good in life, and everybody who loves you wants you to do good and be good. And if anyone's like making you feel like shit, that's somebody who's low vibrational, and I would separate myself from them a little bit. I know you can't if it's family, but like, just understand and recognize that's low vibrational shit. You've earned what you got. You have a right to everything you have, whether it's God-given or not, whether you're born into it or not. You deserve those things. That's what God gave you. So if you're born in money, that's the life God gave you. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're born with a gift and it gives you this grand life, that's what God intended. He gave you that gift. Use it. And don't feel guilty if you don't want to use it either. That is your choice. If you have a beautiful singing voice, but you want to be a veterinarian, and you decided to be a veterinarian who likes to sing in their car, God is 100% happy with that. He just wants you to be happy with it and not feel guilt. So if you're feeling guilt, you need to take that life review, because you're not happy with what you're doing. You're not happy with where you're at, and that's going to, looking into it is going to cause a course correct. So forgiving yourself would be figuring out, clearing that. What needs to change? What don't I like about the situation? What do I need to fix? Closing messages for how we can forgive ourselves in any aspects. Tools and tricks and tips for self-forgiveness, which I think is the most difficult to earn. I can hold a grudge, but I am a Virgo. It has to be a practical grudge hold. Like, I hold a grudge against my attacker for clear reasons, but I don't hold a grudge against my ex for being a narcissist. You know what I mean? So it's like, you gotta pick and choose your battles. Forgiveness, if it's earned. There's just some things that people do that only God can forgive, and that's okay. Doesn't mean you gotta let it harsh your mellow forever. Just let it go. Release it. Just be like, Spirit, I can't forgive this, so can you take it? And they will. I don't think Spirit expects me to forgive, certain things. You just can't. Who could? God. I'm not God, clearly. I wish I was, but I'm not like wish I was God, but wish I was more like, angelic people, but I'm not. I'm a real ass bitch. I won't deny it. Embrace the magical moment. You are the perfect energetic space for manifesting miracles. Allow your wishes to be fulfilled. This is about everything flowing and moving and being and existing exactly as it's meant to. All the wrongs you were meant to make to get to the right things. And if you haven't gotten to the right things yet, you will. Trust the magic of fate and how everything unfolds. It's almost over. Yes. Everything is a cycle closing and ending. You're always changing. You're always adapting. So we're always going to be making mistakes. We're always going to be learning new things. And the more energy and time we put into harshing ourselves about the things we didn't do right is leaving less time for the things that we could be doing right or better. So this is about energy, it's almost over. When you're learning those evolutions of how to forgive yourself, you're taking energy back into yourself that's transmuted and healed, and you have more energy for other things in your life. Forgiving yourself is like taking a suitcase that you have to sit on to close, taking a couple layers off so it just closes nicely on its own, and you can just flip the latch. No extra shit. Someone new is coming. Forgiving things makes room for new things. The less mind space you have to take up, the more room you have to learn something. The less time you spend worrying is the more time you spend laughing, in my opinion. It's just another way of, it doesn't serve you. It just harshes your mellow. It lowers your vibration when you don't forgive yourself. When you don't let go of things, you're allowing that Eeyore gray cloud to just keep raining on your own head. And honey, you have an umbrella in there. Fuck that rain. We don't need it. Unless you want to go and grow some flowers, with the dew on your shoulder. All right. On that cheesy ass note, I think I'm going to call this one. Thank you so much for being on this therapy journey with me. I had a lot of, is it fun to discuss anger management? No, but I have a lot of fun collaborating with Spirit and spending time with you, and I'm very pumped for our next series, which is, again, the relationship series. Next week is the first week. We are talking to long-term committed relationships and married relationships. Anything that can happen in those that you might need therapy for. Come back and see me next Sunday for our next Soulful Session with Spirit. I appreciate you. I love you guys. Have a great week. Just a reminder, I work for Amazon, so I only film on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sundays. In the morning on Sunday because I work Sunday nights. So that's why I dip a little bit. I'm not lazy. I just have a full-time job. This isn't my full-time shtick. I'm a normal 9-to-5er just like you. I just do this for fun. If you could hit the like button, that would help my channel grow. I would appreciate it so much. It also lets me know what you're responding to, what readings you like, what I should shoot more of in the future. If you like my energy, please subscribe. I know I say Why do I always say or okay? Such an American thing. I'm sorry. I'm American. It rubs off. Not that, being American is wrong, but I just feel like we have bad language habits. America. Nobody understands what the fuck we talk about. 'Cause we make up slang words every day. Like, what is that? Welcome to America. I don't know either. Let me Google it. Love you all. I'll see you all again soon. Toodaloo, boo-boo. Boy.